Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Feel Good Friday. I hope everybody's feeling great out there. And as you come in and join us, go ahead and give a little star or a heart or something that tells me you're ready to feel good and have a great day this Friday. As you can see, I'm sitting out in the grass, and I'm certainly very grateful for that because I know not everybody in the U.S. is able to do that because there's a lot of snow in a lot of places. And so I'm going to talk about grounding today, but I want you to manage your mind that if your mind is saying, yeah, right, I can't get outside right now, it's cold and we've had a storm, and any of that chatter that the mind might bring up, it's okay, because I'm going to give you some tips even if you're in that situation. So as you come in, just say hi, let me know you're here, and tell me what you're up to on this Friday. And let's get into talking about some grounding. So I am literally sitting out here touching the grass. Right? Touching the grass with my feet. And that's as simple as grounding is. And it probably sounds, or it could sound to you like, well, it's obvious, and why don't we do that anymore? I know for me, I grew up on a farm, and I ran around barefoot all the time, in dirt, in grass, you name it, I was there. And no shoes a lot of the time, but not everybody lives that way, and frankly, I don't even live that way most of the time now. And so what I'm here on Feel Good Friday to talk to you about is how you can ground in any situation, and the really exciting research that is now showing the effect that grounding is having on reducing our silent inflammation. So physically grounding and mentally grounding. I'm going to give you the scoop. I'm going to give you, as always, practical application, because after all, the research doesn't really help us if we can't apply it right now in our lives in a practical way to benefit you. So here we go. If you're just joining in for the first time on a Feel Good Friday, I am Leah Lund. I'm the creator of One Whole Health. And at One Whole Health, through our Vibrant Woman program and through retreats, we help women move through anxiety and overwhelm and food issues and body issues and into living a joyful and fulfilling life on purpose. And one way to do that is to stay grounded. And when I say grounded, I mean both physically and emotionally. And we might tend to talk about the emotional, mental part of grounding first, things like meditation. And hey, Kim, good to see you. What are you up to this Friday? Go ahead and comment. So oftentimes when you hear the word grounding, we tend to think of the mental grounding, the emotional grounding, and not necessarily the physical grounding. So I'm going to start out today and talk about physical grounding, and then I'll combine the two. And as promised, I'll give you really practical tips that you can take into your life. And I'll try to steady my iPad here. And I've got my headset on because I am in, as some of you know, it's one of the things I love about being able to be a nomad. I call myself a nomad. And that means my company and my service go with me wherever I go, and I go wherever I want to when I want to. And so in the winter, instead of being in our beautiful resort town in Colorado, we're down here in the Desert Palm Springs area. And if you ever question, Kim's walking on the treadmill, good deal. If you ever question, is getting outside that important? Because you hear it all the time. Yes, and it's important for different ways. First of all, just the vitamin D alone and the fresh oxygen makes people feel good. And as I'm looking around here, and I'm just going to pan, this is a resort out in the middle of the desert, out past Palm Desert, and it's not a retirement community, but there's a lot of people here that are retired. And what I just showed you, if you saw, is the gentleman's club where they play horseshoes outside. And actually over to this side, I've got people playing tennis, and you see the golf cart go past me, and you see the ducks in the beautiful pond. And I swear, retirees act like little kids here, and it's like they've just gotten outside and they get to play. It's like the first recess in 30 years, and it's so energizing to be around and to watch, and I just love it. And I know that a part of it is, for years they spent their time indoors and in their offices, and they could never get out and never be doing something like this. And now once they do, it is not just mental and emotional, it is physically helping them feel their best. So the vitamin D and the oxygen alone are a reason to get outside. But then there's this concept of grounding. So what is grounding? Grounding, our very DNA, our ancestry, our design, our DNA is designed to work with Mother Earth. and to have an energy completion with Mother Earth. So in grounding, we reconnect and we ground ourselves, our energy, and in this case, I mean specific, scientific, I mean electrons with the Earth. What happened and so, ancient cultures and primitive cultures had that very naturally and readily, and it was incredibly healing. In fact, there is, I'll get to a really interesting story about that, about a young girl being healed. But so that's our natural design, is to connect with Earth and to have our energy pass through and be conductive to the Earth versus being insulated in any way. And a lot of the research on grounding shows that the invention of the rubber-soled shoe versus leather was a big deterrent. That was a time when we really started to get unhealthy and have more chronic pain and have more inflammation because we were disconnected from the Earth. So unless you took your shoes off, you weren't connected at all. And so that rubber as an insulator literally blocked our energy, and does block our energy, from connecting with beautiful Mother Earth and completing that energy circuit and transferring electrons between. And so this has led to all kinds of chronic disease. At the same time, we see incredible healing when people start to apply grounding in a purposeful way on a regular basis. And I'm going to tell you some tips for doing that today. So it's one of the reasons that I'm talking about grounding today is because out here in the Palm Desert area, actually in an area of this desert called Palms, there is a researcher, and he has, I want to get the website right, it's called the Earthing Institute and also Ground Therapy Center. Anyway, Clint Ober has been studying the effects of grounding out here in Thousand Palms for over 20 years and has seen incredible benefits in the area of inflammation in particular. And he has now teamed up with Deepak Chopra. So this is really great because, of course, Deepak has his 6 pillars of well-being. And they're things like meditation and I'm sure you're familiar with Deepak and his pillars. Deepak is so impressed with the research of the health benefits and the well-being benefits of grounding that he's now added it to his pillars. So there's a new pillar, and it is grounding specifically. I want to get it exactly as Deepak puts it, if I can find it for you here. I was just reading about this. Biological rhythms and grounding is now an additional pillar in Deepak's pillars of well-being, and that's how powerful and definitive the research is about grounding. So and good morning, Kathleen. Great to see you too. So it's a movement and it's a real thing, and we're seeing that the science shows it helps balance all of our body's systems and functions. And what Deepak is especially saying is if you combine that with practices that ground your mind, it's exponential, the benefit. So physical grounding at the same time as a mental and emotional grounding. So what that might look like is what I'm doing here today, sitting outside on the grass. I've got my shoes off and I'm connecting with the earth. If I added journaling or meditating to this, then I've got that double power of physical grounding and mental and emotional grounding. And that helps to compensate for all the static electricity that we encounter in a given day through our air and through our environment. It connects us back with Mother Earth, and it does that on a very specific, scientific, physical level, not just because it feels good and because we're out here in vitamin D and oxygen, although that's pretty darn good too. So I wanted to share a story. So in Clint's research, Clint Ober from the Earthing Institute, and he's out here in Thousand Palms, he grew up in the Midwest. He grew up very similar to me. He grew up in the Midwest, and he had a lot of Native American neighbors, and the Native Americans know the power of the earth. They see all things as living beings. They know that we're all interconnected, and you guys hear me talk about that all the time, that our molecules are exchanged, our atoms are exchanged, we're actually connected on an energetic level, and the electrons is the really active part of the energy. And so he lived through, near a lot of Native Americans, and they would always, when he was growing up, they would say things like, when he'd get sick, go sit outside, you'll feel better, and it worked. But an extreme case was, and an exciting case, there was a little girl who had scarlet fever, and the natives actually dug a hole in the ground buried her in it, had her in it for 3 days. Obviously, she could still breathe and, etc. And the earth healed her scarlet fever. So what is possible for you? Now, you might not be able to move to the woods or be outside all the time, although I would challenge that because that's just a perception and a belief that you can't have a lifestyle like that. And I'm living proof of a nomadic lifestyle. I get outside all the time. But you can also do things on a day-to-day basis. So the amazing opportunity before us is, first of all, touch the ground when you can. And if you're in a snowy environment right now, so putting your feet on grass is just not an option, you can improve your conductivity with Mother Earth by wearing leather-soled shoes. Even through the snow, just stand outside with leather soles instead of rubber so that you can connect with the earth. And there's also a whole host of wonderful products now that are grounding mats, and they're available. You just Google search, you'll find them, and they're available for your bed, and they're available for your desk space, and there's yoga mats. In fact, here in Palm Springs, there's a whole yoga center that Clint is and Deepak are looking at, that is grounded yoga mats on a grounded yoga floor, and then studying the positive health benefits from that. But you can do it at home. You can get a grounding mat. You can get a mat for your desk. You can get a mat for your bed. And there's even grounding. They're like little, they look like the electrodes on an EKG. They just attach to your body and help you ground your energy so that you complete that energy circuit and tap into the natural healing force of our own energy and our own power. So it's possible. It's possible in any environment, and the health benefits are proven. And so that's my invitation to you today, is to get outside if you can, touch the earth. If you can't, check out, is there a way that you can take advantage of a grounding mat or maybe these little patches? And it's one of the reasons some of you on here right now have been to the Clear Path Retreat. It's one of the reasons that I host the Clear Path Retreat every year. As you know, the service and the work that I do, I take it with me all over the world. But I always come back in the early summer to our home in the Rocky Mountains, 2 miles high in the Rockies, and invite women from all over the world to come and unplug and ground with us. And we practice not only physical grounding, but we practice the mental and the emotional pieces of grounding. And the benefits of it last. I get letters and emails all the time. Emails all the time. I don't know, not too many letters anymore. Although I do sometimes get actual physical letters. But it's a beautiful, serene place to unplug, get off your technology, get out of your typical environment, and connect with Mother Earth and other women. So I'll post a link in the comments here should you be interested in that. And today, ground yourself and see how healing it can feel. And Kathleen is saying, I think you read my mind. I've been noticing how much I need grounding this week. Thank you. You are welcome. And for everybody else, enjoy and ground yourself and make it a great, great Friday. Have a good one.